What's up, everybody? It's me, King Alpha. Hope everybody's doing great. So, listen, guys, I am gonna say this. This is my first actual tier list, so do keep this in mind that all of the images and everything. I know some of the images are kind of hard to see, and everything. I'm gonna try and make them a bit more clear next time so that you guys can kind of see what they are, whether it's a more up close image or something. But I will try and work on this next time. This is my first tier list ever, which is surprising because this is 10 seasons of CB. But I hope you guys enjoy this tier list. Hopefully this guide does help you a little bit on knowing what's currently meta and everything. This is kind of bound to change due to the fact of everything getting either buffed, nerfed, or reworked. It's always constantly happening. But this is, in my opinion, all of the stuff that needs to be either buffed, reworked, or is just the king and it's the super meta, which is really, it's, I think every game deserves a meta because of the fact that it's just like one of those things where if you're playing ranked, you got to bring the best of the best and stuff. So honestly, this is going based off of what I think is like honestly the best and what needs to be reworked and buffed. There is some units that just aren't in here, like green units and everything. The reason I don't put green units in and everything is because of the fact of like I'm doing this based off of like top ranks, like just ranked play, but also like playing siege at not a competitive level, but also a level that you can basically do pretty well with if you're using these units. And I'm not saying green units aren't good or gray units aren't good. There's some green units that are actually really good to use, but right now what I'm seeing is a lot in the meta is that a lot of people are having like 780 leadership or more, and it really turns into a fest of one gold and two purples a lot of the times in the higher sieges and everything. So I'm basically going off of that. I am going to be doing I'm going to be doing infantry, then ranged, and then cavalry last. This is basically going in whatever order, so I could put king, alpha. Alpha is basically right there below king. You could still use it, but it's not the best option. But yeah, this is, and like I said again, this is basically going for siege and for ranked. But mostly siege, like just regular siege that you can still actually do really well with. And then king is obviously stuff that you will probably see constantly in ranked battles. So let's go with it. So Iron Reapers, I gotta go with king. Honestly, king tier right now. It is honestly getting spammed, especially if you play on the map Linwu Fortress. That the Iron Reapers are just insane. I mean, it's a great. I do appreciate that they are the king tier right now because of the fact that they deserve to be their T5 and everything. The only thing is though, their leadership, it's really low for how much you actually like the value you get out of them, whereas you have a unit like Silidars that should be really good, but they're cost more than Iron Reapers, and you don't see them at all. So just little things like that. But honestly, Iron Reapers are great. Now I'm not saying that they can't be countered or anything like that, but you do see these units all the time. They are king tier in the melee right now. It's really good to when you see a lot of palace guards, if you have Iron Reapers will shred. They also do shred heroes and everything. This is all due to the rework that they did have. So honestly, Iron Reapers are top tier. You're going to be seeing them all the time in either sieges or ranked, and they're really good. They're really good for sieges. There's a lot of different lines that you can go with them for veterancy, which is really cool because everybody has a different type of line, whether you're going defensive, more offensive, more this or that. So it's really nice to see that Iron Reapers are in king tier right now, because they do deserve it. They're T5 units. They can get shut down. I've had my Iron Reapers shut down all the time, but then there are multiple times that I do use Iron Reapers and they do go crazy. So I do want to say that I do love Iron Reapers. I don't think they need a nerf. I just think they maybe need like a little bit of a leadership increase to at least like 320, so that you don't just see units like Silidars just never being used, and then you have Iron Reapers that are just I believe they're 310 or 315. I think they're 315, and it's just one of those things where it's just like for their leadership, I don't know, you're just seeing them spammed a lot more. So maybe just increase that leadership so that it's not being spammed too much. Next is Palace Guards. Palace Guards are king tier right now. They're basically the best shield and sword infantry in the game. They beat basically every other shield and sword infantry. Even T5, I've seen Palace Guards destroy Modal, Iron Reapers. Sometimes, depending on Iron Reapers. But basically, Palace Guards are king tier after that rework. And it's one of those things where I do wish other units would also get this type of either rework or buff to make sword and shield infantry basically even out, because right now it's just in the higher levels you're constantly only seeing palace guards, and it does get a bit annoying because it's constant. You know, they have the 5-second CC, so everybody charges, brace, and then, you know, there's just loads of them, and it's almost impossible to sometimes do anything because there's so many palace guards on the field. But nonetheless, you are going to be seeing these guys in siege and ranked battles all the time, and honestly, they are top tier. I'm really glad that they are top tier. I just wish there was other units that would kind of, you know, counter them a bit more, but allow for palace guards to still be really good. Modal, top tier right now, king tier. They still are the king of anti-cav. Honestly, ever since that nerf, we've been seeing still some modals, because the modals can still shred both cav and infantry, and even heroes. There's been sometimes I've actually walked into a modal, you know, trying to break their formation, and I actually got hit for like 20,000 damage. They still do a loads of damage to heroes, to infantry, and everything like that. And these guys, you are going to be seeing these guys in ranked and even in TW. I'm sorry I did not say that in the beginning, but you will see these guys in TW a lot as well. Max Raiders, I'm going to give these guys the alpha tier. They obviously did get nerfed to the point that, you know, you can stop them, but I feel like personally they still are really good. I think, you know, you will see them in rank, you will see them in regular sieges and stuff. I've been using them, and I've actually been averaging about 50 to 60 kills, but I've been using them more like jab units, and sometimes where like I really know that I can go in and kill ranged units without getting stopped, I do use these guys' abilities for, you know, melee. But for the most part, I typically keep these guys at a ranged type of ability. So I'm not saying I go full top line, but the veterancy that I use, it basically allows for them to have good accuracy and range while also still being tanky and melee and everything. But these guys are definitely alpha tier. They're still really good units. You just have to be more careful with these guys. I think honestly, you can't just throw them in like they used to. You know, they can get stopped now and everything. And, you know, they don't break the game, which is really, really nice. Imperial shields are alpha tier. I'm not going to give them king tier because honestly, you know, people still don't use these shields. I don't know why, because they did have an amazing rework, and, you know, rework slash buff, and it was awesome. Honestly, they are amazing shields. It almost brings it back to season 4 where you used to see a lot of Imperial shields. So you used to see Imperial shields, and you used to see Imperial pikes for the braccio, and it was all that type of meta. However, right now you're seeing a lot of Imperial shields with also the falconetti gunners or flamethrowers, and it really, really is nice to see that type of infantry push again, where you're seeing the Imperial shields block a lot of stuff, where you know, you have the long pikes or you have the flamethrowers or falconetti gunners behind them supporting them, so that they actually are good. These guys are really good. They don't output a lot of damage, but man, when I tell you, there's some clips that I have that these guys are just honestly just tanking forever, and it feels amazing. And honestly feels amazing because these shields are just better than a lot of the other shields that we have. And if I had to say it, if anything, honestly, gray hairs and these are almost the same. The only thing is gray hairs actually do damage compared to these guys. These guys are basically the perfect, or like just the embodiment of what shield should be in Conqueror's Blade. Now, I'm going to say this, honestly, in terms of Silidars, I'm really thingy about either a buff or a rework, because honestly, I feel like you could buff these guys to the point that they are really good, but I feel like they also need a bit of a rework in terms of, you know, I feel like they just die too easy. It's too easy to kind of, you know, kill them, basically put them on the ground and you lose the entire unit. So I would honestly, I'm really in between on these guys. I don't know whether they should just get buff or reworked. I'm gonna put buff please, because I think you could just do what they kind of did with Imperial shields and buff either their cover commander, or, you know, buff some health on them or something to kind of make these guys a little bit more sustainable. Because I think the issue is that a lot of the times I'm using these skills, I'm using them a cover commander, but the issue is these guys, once they get put on the ground, they basically get obliterated. They can't really kill even palace guards sometimes because of the fact that, you know, the palace guards will just obliterate them once they do the shield bash. So, you know, I feel like this unit should be able to fight, you know, palace guards a little bit more, should be able to counter even Modal. You know, Axe Raiders I feel like could even destroy Silidars as well. So I think Silidars just need a proper buff to honestly make these guys you know, just more worth it. And obviously even I think lower the leadership of these guys to like 310 so that they can actually be useful, or even 305, because honestly if you're not going to buff or rework these guys, put the leadership lower so that at least it's still usable or something. But I think they do deserve at least a buff. I don't see why we haven't gotten a buff for these guys, but they do deserve a buff entirely. Shield Maidens, honestly I'm going to say rework, because even though Shield Maidens are really good, it's too easy to bring these shields down. I understand they're a hybrid of sword and shield. They are still a good shield unit and everything, but the issue with them, like, I feel is personally, once they're all on the ground, it's too easy to kill. Like, if Palace Guards can kill these females, these Shield Maidens, or, you know, even Axe Raiders can destroy them. If Axe Raiders or even T4 units are able to easily destroy Shield Maidens, then I think they do need a little bit of a rework or even a buff. Personally, I think like their cover commander or their cover commander should kind of be what Imperial Shield Guards or Imperial Spear Guards, because I think that would make Shield Maidens even insane if you give what Imperial Shields have. The only thing is I don't want to see units all become the same. I do want you know, Shield Maidens to be their own unique unit, and they still are a unique unit. I'm not saying that you can't use these Shield Maidens in the meta at all. You can, you just need to play them really right, and it just takes a lot of skill to actually use these Shield Maidens to the point that you actually get a lot of value out of them. For the T5, I don't think, you know, they are really that worth it. You'll probably see one Shield Maiden unit, and that's about it. But I do think they do need at least a rework or a buff to at least make them usable, to the point that you will see them as a shield unit being used as a T5 shield unit. A lot of people don't even consider these T5 shield unit, and I agree. I would like to at least see them get put into the alpha tier, where at least they're you know, in sieges and even used like Imperial shields, but used in a different way. Serags honestly need a rework. I love Serags. I personally think Serags should counter Palace Guards because they're straight blunt damage, and should just counter the Palace Guards. But honestly, with Serags, I think they need another skill. All the sword and shield infantry all have other, you know, a second skill or something. But honestly, the only other skill that you can actually give Serags is Ironsides, and that's about it. And that's if you have Ironsides. But after the charge, basically these guys are just XVing the whole time, and you're basically trying to keep these guys alive in melee. It's super easy to kill these guys. Palace Guards honestly destroy these guys. Immortal Garrison destroy these guys. You know, they are a good unit. They do a lot of damage, but you have to use these guys simply as either flankers or something, because they are really bad frontline, and they can get obliterated really fast. But are they still usable? Yes, I've used them a couple times during this week, and I've been having a little bit of fun with them. But it's all the times where I'm like, oh, can I engage? Oh, can I even engage in that? Oh, and it's one of those hit or miss all the times. And I just wish these guys had either some cool shield bash or some type of like massive knockdown that at least breaks down even more shields and stuff. Because the issue is these guys, you know, once they charge, it's one of those, oh, I charged and I lost my entire unit. Yeah, I got a couple of kills, but that was about it. Now, Imperial Jabs, I'm going to say they are still alpha tier. I've still seen a lot of, you know, dual blades, pole axes, and everything. They are still good jab units. I think the jab units are actually pretty good. And I was using them, I think, yesterday. I was able to get up to 9 hero kills with these guys. They are still really good. They just take a lot of skill to use. You will still see them in regular siege. Are they for ranked? Maybe not. Maybe for a really good dual blade or pole axe or maul. But honestly, you know, I think they're just alpha tier. They're still one of those units that you can use if you like them, and you can use them effectively. So it's all based off of the player. But are they, you know, are they something that you should get? Yeah, why not? Why not? It's a good unit that if you master, you can actually get loads of hero kills per game. Javelin Sergeants are still alpha tier for me. Honestly, Javelin Sergeants are pretty good. I will say this though, Axe Raiders and Javelin Sergeants are in the medium for me, because I feel like Axe Raiders, I can kind of use them a bit better than Javelin Sergeants, because even though Javelin Sergeants have a nice burst damage and everything, even if you're using like the double shot or you're using bottom line, you know, these guys can rack up a lot of unit kills. And they can be still a very harassing unit, but I feel like Axe Raiders kind of get that throw a bit quicker. That I've sometimes had it where, someone's using Javelin Sergeants, I just throw a couple of axes from my Axe Raiders, and it kind of just destroys most of the units from Javelin Sergeants. So yeah, I think Javelin Sergeants still can be used as a really good harassing unit. But if I had to choose between, either Axe Raiders or Javelins, honestly, I would choose Axe Raiders. Javelins are really good for like long range. Axe Raiders don't really have that range, but like I said, they're both kind of similar. That's why I want to keep Javelin Sergeants in the alpha tier. Now, I'm going to give Claymores a alpha tier. I do think they do need some type of rework on their For Freedom. I feel like it's too penalizing. However, these guys are still really, really good. They are a great unit for support. They also are a great unit for charging in and everything. I've had a lot of fun with Claymores. I think they are a great unit. It's probably one of the most balanced units we've had in a little while in terms of seasons. But these guys are amazing. Honestly, I love them. It's just their For Freedom. It's one of those, you charge in and then you have to really time them getting out, because their For Freedom is too penalizing to the point that it's, you're like, oh my god, I'm going to lose them. They're going to have 40% speed reduction and 40% damage. Like, honestly, I think if they either take out the 40% damage taken or the 40% speed debuff, I think it would be amazing. Because the thing is, these guys charge in, yeah, they do great damage, but they aren't massively tanky, but these guys can get killed pretty easy if you just drop them all on the ground and everything. And then especially if they're For Freedom ends, then boom, you immediately can lose all of them. I've seen my Claymores after For Freedom die to Squires, and it's just like, wow, dude, they literally just died to Squires. Like, it's crazy. It's just crazy to me. I think, honestly, it's just one of those things. Condos. I'm going to say I want to see a little bit of a buff for condos. I'm not saying I want to see condos, destroy T4 units and everything again like they used to in Season 3. But I do want to see a little bit of a buff. I feel like there's another unit that's a bit better than condos. And condos are one of those units right now that you kind of just need to only go for the flank. I think just a little bit of a buff, just to at least see them being used a bit more again, would be nice. I'm not saying that I really want them to be king tier, alpha tier, but at least even beta tier, where they don't just go into a siege and that you're possibly gonna have to just go and use them for archers or something. Honestly, you charge these guys, sometimes I just have it where I lose the entire unit. I get like 2 unit kills sometimes. These guys are basically only simply flankers, but even just a little bit of a buff in terms of either their damage or health or something to at least make these guys a little bit more tanky to be able to use as an actual brawler unit. I think I would love to see the return of condos, because I've always loved condotary. Imperial Pikes. Now we're going to put alpha tier for Imperial Pikes. Honestly, Imperial Pikes are amazing. I will say this, just keep in mind, you do need to watch out for Palace Guards. You can't just advance on Palace Guards immediately once they brace. These guys, Imperial Pikes, are insane Keshik killers, insane cavalry killers still. So it's still amazing to use these guys. The only reason I don't put these guys entirely in King tier, I'm like iffy on that, because you do use them in ranked as well. And they are really good when you do have them. But the only issue is it is really, really, really easy to counter Imperial Pikes because of the fact of once they're advancing, people could charge from behind, people can knock them down. It's really easy to kind of kill these Imperial Pikes on an advance. But in big blobs, these guys are really good if you actually do use them. So I'm really tempted to put it in King tier, but like I said, I'm going to put them in Alpha tier because of the fact that there is a lot that can counter them that really can stop them. Fortebraccio, honestly, King tier. They are still amazing. You got the stun on brace, you got everything like that you need. You're going to be seeing Fortebraccio all the time in ranked and in blob fights. Now, like I said, Imperial Pikes are basically King / Alpha tier, but I don't want to put them in the King tier because of the issue of most people even use Palace Guards as just their way of shielding a lot of units and stuff like that. And Imperial Pikes are good, but the issue is they just, after one advance, you're basically going to lose them sometimes unless you kind of get them out. So honestly, like I said, Fortebraccio are really, really good. You're going to see them all the time. Yeah, sometimes your Fortebraccio are going to get killed and everything, but it's all about positioning, and it's all about the fact of how you're actually using them, because when you're using a Forte effectively, these guys can, you know, really bunker down and hold down a door and stuff like that. It's really, really important to actually have Forte in your lineup. And if you get really skilled with using Forte, you know, good countering for Cav, but also good countering for a lot of infantry pushes. Next is Perfection Pikes. Now, the only reason I'm putting these guys in beta tier is because you most likely are not going to be seeing them a lot in ranked. But in regular siege, and I mean, ranked or TW, but in regular siege, honestly, Perfection Pikes are super, super fun. I love them. I love getting the hero kills and everything. I'm just putting them in beta tier because this is one of those units that it's basically based off of you having fun with them. I've had a lot of times where, you know, I get 1 hero kill, 2 hero kills with them a game, but honestly, their charge is devastating. I really love them. But if we're talking about ranked and TW, you're not going to see Perfection Pikes at all. But it's just still really good. It's still such a good unit to use that, especially if you honor node them, if you give them doctrines and everything, they are still a really good unit to use. That's why I'm putting them in beta tier, because they are still a good unit to use. But you know, it's just one of those units where it's like, if you need the leadership for them, and you want to use them, you know, just use them, because they are a fun unit. Same with Land Sharks. I'm going to put them in the same area. They are still a good fun unit to use, but these guys, you know, after that charge, they can kind of get obliterated. Same with Perfector Pikes. So, you know, it's a fun charging unit to use that, you know, can get you a couple of hero kills. It's all about timing with these guys, though, so you really got to just be careful with them. Immortal Garrison, king tier. These guys have been king tier since season 8. These guys have been doing their thing. Honestly, I love these guys. Sometimes they do too much damage. Sometimes they don't work for me. Sometimes there's like one unit that magically isn't in formation that doesn't allow me to use my 2 button, which kind of pisses me off a lot of the times when using my Immortal Garrison, that like I brace them, all of them are there, but then there's just one unit that it says that's not in the formation. So then I can't use my 2, and then boom, you know, my entire unit gets obliterated. So definitely, you know, these units do take a lot of skill to use these guys, but they are still an amazing unit to use. And I think they're still king tier. You'll see them in ranked. You'll see them in regular siege all the time. These guys are amazing shields, and honestly, they can get you loads of hero kills, loads of unit kills, and they're really king tier. Honestly, I love them. Berserkers, honestly, I'm really about these guys right now. They are still a good unit to use, especially in big little blob fights and stuff. However, I'm gonna have to put these guys in beta tier, because honestly, Claymores beat up on Berserkers. You know, Berserkers, I mean, Axe Raiders beat up on them, Javelins and all that type of stuff. They are a good unit, but ever since the nerf to like damage reduction to heroes, which I really don't like that trait anymore, I really feel like they should just, you know, take that trade off or reduce it a bit more, because honestly, the reduction damage to heroes and stuff is just blah. You know, should I say Berserkers need a little bit of a buff? I would like to see Berserkers get a little bit of a buff, but I'm gonna say they still are a decent unit that you can use, that can still shred if you use them right. But personally, I do love Berserkers. I do wish they would kind of get into that little brawl thing. It's just there's too much that kind of counters them. That it's like, you know, you need to really use these guys very situational. Stalwarts honestly need a rework. I know you can still use these guys in the meta. They still are something that you can brace and everything. But honestly, with Pike, Maul, Poleaxe, a lot of heroes just shred these guys now. They don't do the damage they used to do at all, which is good. I don't think they should do like massive damage where you charge into them and they just immediately delete you. But it's too easy to break these guys now. Honestly, it's too easy to break these guys. I think they should get a little bit of a rework with shield maintenance. At least make shields useful for what they should be, which is, you know, protecting infantry, protecting DPS and all that type of stuff, and still having a little bit of damage and stuff. So hopefully they do rework these guys a little bit so that they can at least be an alpha tier. But honestly, I would choose Immortal Garrison over Stalwarts any day. Paladins honestly need a buff. I think they just need a buff. I won't say a rework. I just feel like if you do a proper buff in terms of either increasing defense, increasing damage, increasing you know, their AI or something like that, so that they actually can fight in these type of brawls and stuff, because I feel honestly, claymores destroy paladins. Paladins are one of those things where they have a great charge, but after that charge is just meh. Like it's really easy to kill paladins, in my opinion. A lot of people still use them, but you really do not see paladins in the top tier anymore because of palace guards. Next, halberdier sergeants honestly need a rework. I think these guys are great. They're a great unit. If you use them correctly, you can get loads of kills. Their brace is amazing, but it is super easy to kill these guys. And like one hero or two heroes can honestly obliterate the whole halberdier unit. I'm not saying these guys aren't good. I've seen them do loads of damage before. Sometimes you underestimate them, but I think I want to see them being used a lot more than what they are. I want to see a little bit of a balance for them, that you have to use them kind of like halberdiers should be used. And if you're doing that brace and everything, you should kind of be able to at least know that you'll at least average at least 30 something unit kills from them. Honestly, I've tried to do it before where I've V'd I've V'd my halberdier sergeants on palace guards, and the palace guards are just killing them, even with a way shorter sword and everything. Whereas halberdier sergeants with a V should be destroying at least palace guards when they're braced. So I do think these guys do need a little bit of a rework. Honestly, I would love to see them played a bit more. Sons of Fenrir, I'm going to put them in beta because honestly they're a very situational unit. They still are really good. They're hero killers like crazy, I'll tell you that much. They really can obliterate heroes if you're trying to like 1v1 and they're trying to knock you down and stuff. Sons of Fenrir are awesome. They still are really good at taking out range and everything as well. They can obliterate range, but they really aren't the best versus infantry. You need to watch these guys unless it's a flank. But these guys are awesome. They're one of the units that I don't think need a buff or anything, but you still will see them, and if used correctly, they still can do a lot of damage. Honestly, monks, I'm sorry, they need a little bit of a rework. I understand a lot of people, praise these guys a little bit. They're like, oh, but you need to do it. You need to use them this way and this way. In the higher sieges, you're just not going to see them at all. And sometimes I've even had it where my hammer bros kind of beat up on monks, and it's kind of sad that a gray unit can kind of just beat up on monks, whereas the monks, should kind of do a little bit more damage and stuff. But yeah, the monks honestly need a rework, at least to make these guys, duke it out a little bit with condos or, Sons of Fenrir or something, because I just feel like they just need a little bit of rework. In terms of the bagpipes, honestly, I think they're beta tier. You can use, I think one unit of them is really good in ranked or TW, or even sieges, but they honestly are beta tier because you're not going to see a lot of people use them. But are they useful? They're still useful in ranked. They're still useful in territory war and in sieges, but you're really going to see a rare occasion of someone using these guys. They do have really good buffs and stuff. It's just the issue is just not a lot of people use them. But when they do get used, and they do get used properly, the buffs and everything are amazing for the blob fights and stuff. It's awesome. In terms of Asseps, please give me a buff, please. In terms of that, I think Asseps, Paladins, all the sword and shield units are really, really struggling except for Palace Guards. I think they need a buff or something to kind of make them a bit more useful in terms of things of, fighting Palace Guards, fighting Immortal Garrison and all that type of stuff. Especially Immortal Garrison. I feel like if you have, Asseps should kind of counter Immortal Garrison, whereas Immortal Garrison kind of counter, other things. So I'm just hoping that at least we do see a little bit of a buff for Asseps. Perfection Guards, honestly, they are. I would give them Alpha tier. I think I am going to give them Alpha tier. Honestly, I've seen it a lot of the times where if you use these guys correctly, they are just like massive little mini Iron Reapers. Everybody calls them mini Iron Reapers because of the fact that they do just destroy a lot. They just go crazy. But the issue is they cannot, you got to be careful because they cannot always destroy, units like claymores, units like Imperial Pikes and all that type of stuff, and axe raid. They are really good, but you need to use them where you literally press 2 and then press cover commander, and these guys go wild. They are amazing hero killers too, and amazing unit killers, but you need to watch out in which engagements you do use these guys with. But they are a great blue unit, and I think they are probably one of the best blue units right now, simply because of the fact that these guys, they're just amazing in engagements, and it's so fun to use these guys versus heroes or little blob fights that you know you can win. All right, we're going down to the range now. So Imperial Archers, I'm gonna give these guys honestly, I would say if anything, they are probably. I think they're beta tier. These guys are amazing. I'm not gonna really say that they're not amazing. They still do loads of damage. They still, kill heroes. They still kill units and everything. But it's super easy to kill these guys. Honestly, if you have one musket throwing a bomb or caltrops or something, you can lose your entire unit like immediately. It's kind of annoying. Um, but are they still a unit that you can use in Siege? Yes. Are they still a unit that you can maybe even see in ranked? Yes. Honestly, you can still use them in ranked and stuff. TW, not so much. But they are still a genuine good unit. I don't think they need a buff. I don't think they need a rework, but they are a good unit to really use in the meta and everything because of so many shields and everything like that. That if you do have these guys, pinking units, like just hitting them along, they are going to do pretty well. All right, we're going to go over to Imperial Arquebusiers. I think they need a buff. Honestly, with all of the muskets and everything, the other two musket units that we have, these guys honestly need a buff. I think, personally, they genuinely just they're really just a toothpick type of unit where, yeah, that volley is really nice, but it's super easy to kill these guys. It's very one of those moments where you need to like basically hold the ground in order for these guys to actually get the massive output that they need. But I would like to see a little bit of a buff in terms of either their fire rate, in terms of maybe fixing their accuracy a little bit or something, because nobody's really using these guys. Honestly, everybody's using, the other two golden musket units now, and it's just one of those things where, they're a good unit sometimes, but not all the time. Janissaries, honestly, I think I would say, give them a little bit of a buff as well, just to have it where, so I've had it a lot of times where my Janissaries, they're supposed to be snipers. They've been on the stick the whole time, and they're just missing loads. It's super easy to kill these guys too. And especially versus all the the T4 shields and all that type of stuff, they really do struggle to go and break through the block and stuff. So hopefully like a little bit of a buff in terms of maybe even fire rate or something like that while they're on the stick can really improve these guys and actually make them a bit more into the beta area. Kriegs, I love Kriegs, but again, I think all of the T4 muskets are kind of, well, T4 and T3 muskets are just meh at the moment because of Grenadiers and Tertios. But Kriegs, I would love to see like either an honor node change where they get extra ammo in an honor node, or just give these guys extra ammo in general to actually make these guys. I mean, I understand a lot of people might come at me about these guys, but personally, I've seen it a lot of times where Grenadiers and Tertios do way better than the Kriegs because of the fact of ammo. But I'm not saying these guys aren't great. These guys are amazing snipers and stuff. It's just in the current meta right now, they are not a top pick. They're just not a top pick. And even if you fully purple doctrine these guys out and everything, they are still decent, but Tertios and Grenadiers will always kind of put these guys over to the fact of like they just personally, I just want to see a little bit of a buff. I've always wanted to see a little bit of a buff. In terms of what like Tertios just got, I think Krieg should get something like that too. Namcans, I'm gonna put these guys still at like alpha tier. These guys are still one of those units that you basically use as a blue unit if you don't have the leadership, and they can still be harassing in terms of either killing other DPS units or just harassing infantry. I've had it a lot of times where I still lose my Reapers or my Palace Guards or my Modal or anything because there's some guy with Namcans hitting my unit, and that bleed really can stack, and it's really annoying. So they're still an alpha tier unit. I think they're a really good unit to honestly use still if you don't have the leadership. Pavis, I think they're alpha tier. I don't think, honestly, I've seen a lot less Pavis due to the muskets. And I think they're good, but just some, like, Pavis are to the point where they need to stay there for so long to kill someone. And I've had it a lot of times where there was, even yesterday, I was using Pavis, and I'm trying to kill, some heroes. There's only heroes in the point, and my Pavis are basically missing all of their shots and stuff. It's so annoying how they miss all their shots all the time, and then it's so easy to kill these guys. I feel like you can obliterate. I obliterate a unit of Pavis super easy sometimes, and I just feel like they do need a little bit of a buff in terms of either their accuracy or fire rate, but are they still usable? Yes. I think Pavis can still be very used. You just have to use them situational. Grenadiers, T5, beautiful king tier. The grenades, I remember when I used to kind of bash these guys. Their grenade is honestly insane. It's amazing. I love them. And you know, do they need a buff? Do they need a nerf? No. I think just leave these guys how they are, and honestly let them be in the meta like they are. Because honestly, it's really easy to kill these guys, but when you use these guys correctly, they can absolutely obliterate and destroy stuff. It's honestly amazing. And I love just chucking the bombs too. It's so awesome. Now, Houndsmen, I'm going to give these guys alpha tier. I will say this. I've had a big struggle in killing some Houndsmen. The dogs do need a little bit of a rework in terms of their AI. But the Houndsmen themselves, when I tell you guys, the Houndsmen themselves are insane. They're pretty good. Sometimes I've had it where it's really hard to kill the Houndsmen because of the slow, because of the poison, and they really can snipe heroes pretty quick. But it's still really easy to kill this unit. So one of those things where, you know, they're a good unit, but the dogs die too easy, and then, you know, obviously they're archers, so they do die easy. I have lost Houndsmen before as well to green archers because of ranged. So yeah, I think for sure the AI for the dog needs to be reworked, and then in terms of the Houndsmen, the archers themselves, I think they're fine. I do wish you could put like an arrow rain ability on them, but it's meh. King tier is freaking Tertios. Tertios are honestly king tier after the rework. They are amazing, and I think, you know, you can use them as snipers. Grenadiers, I think, are still a bit better than Tertios, but Tertios, if you're able to snipe heroes, if you're able to still use them as a good little DPS unit, they're still really, really good. Zakili Militia, I'm going to put an alpha tier. These guys are really amazing for blob fights. Honestly, I love these guys. You know, they're obviously still very weak. You won't get a lot of like actual unit kills from them unless you're killing blue units or below. But these guys can disrupt so much, and they're basically the mini flamethrowers, which is really, really nice. And you still will see these ball boys being used and actually still disrupting so much. I'm gonna give them alpha tier though, just because of the simple fact that, you know, you're not gonna really see them in TW. You'll most likely see flamethrowers in TW and stuff. But in ranked as well, you'll see some Zakillian, but not all the time. Flamethrowers still A tier, king tier. You just need to use these guys right. They honestly can still obliterate, especially people now that are using loads of like Immortal Garrison and shields and stuff and palace guards. These guys do obliterate. They're awesome. If you're able to keep these guys alive and safe, it feels almost impossible to break through sometimes. It's awesome. Falconetti Gunners, king tier, another one of those units that if you can keep these guys safe, they just disrupt so much, and they're just awesome. They're basically still a must either get or something, because they're great in TW, great in ranked, and great in regular siege. But like I said, they will get targeted. You know, it's the same thing as flamethrowers. These guys will get targeted really hard, so you need to be careful. Longbows honestly need a rework. I think just an increase in damage. Honestly, I feel like, you know, longbows should get an increase in damage in terms of, you know, damaging other DPS units and stuff. Some people still do average pretty good unit kills with them, especially since, you know, a lot more people are using ranged units. But in general, it's very annoying when you're trying to use longbows to counter Namcans, but then the Namcans can hit your longbows because of the range and stuff. So yeah, that's annoying. Now let's go to the Cav. So we have the Cav. So this is Cataphracts, if anybody doesn't know. Sadly, the head got cut off and stuff, and obviously I have a skin on them. So this is Cataphracts. Cataphracts are honestly, I feel they're alpha tier. I will say this, they're alpha tier because of the fact that you need skill to use these guys. Like, you actually need to use these guys with skill. They can still get countered pretty hard, but when you actually use these guys correctly, I've gotten some 60 kills, 70 kills with them. They honestly are amazing. I love Cataphracts. You just need to use them right. That's all it is. It's all about using their charge and cover commander right, or, you know, whatever thingy commander, and they are amazing. I love it personally. Next, Wing Hussars. I think they're still alpha tier. It's still really easy to kill Wing Hussars and stuff, but the reason why I want to say they're alpha tier is because they still are really good in terms of blob fights and stuff. And if you're able to, there's certain areas that if you can do a nice charge where they can just go straight down, they can still obliterate lines and stuff, and these guys are still awesome. I think, you know, it's one of those things where you still will see these guys in ranked, not as much because of, you know, Keshiks and stuff, but I think they're awesome still unit if you use them correctly. This is another unit that is great as long as you use them like with skill, with where you're doing the proper charge with them. Army Gears, King tier still. These guys, you'll see them in ranked, you'll see them in field battle ranked, and you'll see them in TW. You'll still see them in sieges all the time. These guys are still honestly the most annoying cav to me. I honestly hate their cover commander. It's way too easy for them to just obliterate lines of stuff. They're a great Lancer cav. I will say that, but I think that cover commander is just so annoying to me. Like the cover commander to the point that they're just basically almost unstoppable does kind of get annoying. But they are king tier. I love them sometimes when I do use them, and they're just amazing. Sithbihis, I think after the next, they got a buff previously. They need a rework or something. I think their speed is just. I understand that they're supposed to be a brawler cav, but their speed is so slow. There was one time I'm trying to get the Sithbihis to do a nice flank charge, and one hero was able to obliterate almost the entire unit. And it was so annoying because they were so slow that one maul or one short sword just came and stopped the entire unit and just did so much that it just didn't matter. I think these guys either need to get a speed buff or just give them a massive health buff so that they can actually duke it out in these type of charges and everything, especially if they're supposed to be brawler cav. Let them be brawlers to the point that they can actually duke it out. Definitely think they need a rework / buff, but let me know what you guys think. Outriders are king tier right now. These guys are insane and ranked. They are the most annoying type of jab cav ever. I would maybe like to see a little bit of an increase in terms of their number 1 skill so that it's on a little bit more of a timer. Because it's just so annoying that like there's a lot of the times that you can't push forward because there's just a spam of outriders. Like 4 unit of outriders can almost stop an entire push when, especially on eastern type of maps and stuff. It's so annoying. And it's really easy to kill these guys too, but the issue is just when there's a lot of them, it's just they can just obliterate. But they are king tier. They are meta right now. You'll see them in field battle ranks, and you'll also see them in other things as well. These guys basically counter Modal and basically a lot of the infantry. Even with Imperial Shields, it's really annoying to kind of try and get set up when the Outriders, when there's 2 or 3 of them just chucking the bombs. It's, the bomb javelins, and it's just, so crazy. Salam Kids, I'm going to put them in beta. Honestly, these guys I've been using them. They're really fun. And you can get nice. It's just all about back charging with these guys. It's so awesome. It's so fun. And I think these guys. I had to take a drink. I'm sorry. It's too much talking. And I think these guys are just really worth it sometimes to use as a blue unit in Siege. Rattan Rangers. They need a rework. I think make them so that they can counter other cav, like especially Keshigs and cav that are a bit more exposed, especially. I don't think Outriders should be better than Rattan Rangers. So Rattan Rangers really do need a buff to at least make it where they're at least king tier with Outriders, because either increase their shooting speed again, but not too much to the point where they obliterate a horse and a hero in 2 seconds, but at least allow them to be able to duke it out versus other cav, where you use them as a skirmish type of cav that they should be. Keshigs, king tier. Everybody knows Keshigs right now are super annoying. It is easy to counter them with Imperial Pikes and Fortebraccio and stuff, but when there's a spam of them, it does get very annoying. Sometimes there's a lot of the times where you're pushing home point and it's the last thing, but then there's always that one person with Keshigs left, and it's just super easy to kill loads of heroes. My thing for these guys, I think honestly, they just need a leadership buff. I think just buff the leadership to at least 320, 325, and you'll still see them, but you're not going to see them as much because of the leadership. I think that's the way. I think that is the way for them. I don't want to see them get nerfed to the point that nobody uses them again, but I do want to see them at least get a buff in terms of leadership, so at least they're not just getting spammed. Like at least see the other cav being used as well. Monastics, I'm gonna say these guys are beta tier. I know some people have said but they're really good in dueling and fighting and stuff, but I've lost Monastics easily to Keshigs. If you don't I think Monastics honestly in the XV should beat Keshigs. I understand they have the 2 and stuff, but these are heavy Lancer cav. they should not just get obliterated by Keshigs after the charge, especially when they even have a trait that they take less damage in regular attacking and all that type of stuff. These guys should duke it out with Keshigs. Keshigs should be one of those units that are for flanking and everything, whereas monastics are frontline, but then they can also duke it out in terms of, you know, just fighting and stuff. It's kind of annoying. Liao Rangers, I'm gonna give these guys alpha tier. You can still use these guys pretty well, but they genuinely just, you know, it's very situational. Sometimes they can be Keshigs, and you know, other cav and stuff, but I feel like my Liaos, they do die pretty fast now compared to what they used to. And they really just, I don't know, sometimes I feel like their AI is a bit broken sometimes too. But they are still a really good cap to use. I think they're really second to Keshigs. You know, I think it's definitely Keshigs and Liaos as the top tiers right now. But I will give them alpha tier because you can still use them in TW and ranked and all that type of stuff. But, you know, I think Armagears kind of even duke it out even a bit better sometimes than Liaos. These are Cultival Cavalry. Gonna put these guys as a rework. I'm not even gonna talk about these guys. I understand the image is messed up, but they just need a rework. And Korachins honestly need a rework because I think they just need a rework in terms of what even the Iron Cap Horse Cavalry got or whatever, or Horse Archer Cav got. That at least those green archers are pretty good. But ever since Outriders came out, it made a lot of the other skirmish cav basically useless because Outriders are so good, especially for the leadership to 170. This is my unit tier list though, guys. I'm gonna put this in the actual, like, my profile and stuff. If you guys ever do want to check this out, I'm very sorry that this was so long, but a unit tier list it's one of those things where it does take a while to really do and talk about, because you're trying to talk about everything in the correct way and stuff. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Let me know what you guys think. I'm gonna put little timestamps and everything in case you guys do want to you know, go to certain segments of the video and be like, oh, okay, that's cavalry. Oh, okay, that's infantry. Oh, okay, that's that. So hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good one. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.